Did your ex seem to push you away just when things were getting serious? Were they hot and cold, loving one moment and distant the next? And now you're wondering if they'll ever come back or if they even regret losing you. If your ex has a fearful avoidant attachment style, their regret timeline looks very different from what you might expect. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly when and how fearful avoidants experience regret, and more importantly, what this means for you. Now we're going to dive deep into one of the most misunderstood attachment styles. So if you've been left confused by an ex who seemed to love you but couldn't commit, or who ended things just when you thought you'd found something real, then this video is for you. So stay with me because we're about to unpack something that could change how you view your entire relationship. Now, before we get into the timeline, let's zoom out and get a big picture of what fearful avoidant attachment actually means. People with this attachment style, also called disorganized attachment, have a unique internal conflict. They desperately want close relationships, but they're also terrified of them. Think of it like this. If a relationship is a car, then they're stepping on the gas and the brake at the same time. And what that really means is this. They want intimacy, but when they get it, everything inside of them screams danger. And what that really means for your relationship is this. It creates a push-pull dynamic that can be absolutely exhausting for both of you. I want you, I don't want you, I love you, I don't love you, I want to be with you, I don't want to be with you. If you really want to know more about the difference between fearful and dismissive avoidance, then check out this video. But here's the main takeaway. Dismissive avoidants feel that same inner conflict, but those feelings are pushed way down inside, repressed in their subconscious. But for a fearful avoidant, those feelings are right on the surface. What it all comes down to is this. Dismissive avoidants tend to be more consistently distant, but fearful avoidants cycle between anxious and avoidant behaviors. One day they're planning your future together, the next they're questioning everything and pulling away. And that can really feel like they're just playing games with you. But if there's one main takeaway here, it's exactly this. Dismissive avoidants shut down their feelings and act like they don't need anyone. Fearful avoidants feel everything intensely and they show it. Now that we understand the big picture, let's talk about how fearful avoidants typically end relationships, because this sets the stage for their entire regret timeline. Let's break this down into 3 easy to understand parts. First, the deactivation phase. This is when a fearful avoidant starts feeling too close or vulnerable. Here's where everything begins to shift. If you're a fearful avoidant and you really start to feel this connection growing stronger, then you begin what psychologists call deactivation. And when they talk about deactivation, what they're really talking about is this. The fearful avoidant starts finding faults in your relationship. They start creating distance, picking fights, or becoming emotionally unavailable. This isn't really conscious behavior. It's their attachment system trying to restore what it perceives as safety. Now let's take a closer look at this. The fact is, when a fearful avoidant starts pulling away, they're usually not thinking, I'm going to sabotage this relationship right now. It's not a logical decision. It's automatic. Even if they want the relationship, there's a deep, subconscious belief shaped by past experiences that getting too close will lead to pain. And what that means is this: their brain kicks into protection mode without them even realizing it. And it tries to keep them safe the only way it knows how, by creating distance. And that brings us to phase 2, the exit strategy. Often they'll create a crisis or find a reason to end things. Maybe they'll say they need space, that they're not ready for commitment, or they'll focus on incompatibilities that seemed minor before. And sometimes they'll even cheat or engage in self-sabotaging behaviors that force the relationship to end. Now, this is the part that deserves more attention, so let's clear this up. Just because someone is avoidant, it does not automatically mean they will cheat. But studies do show that people with avoidant attachment styles are moderately more likely to cheat than securely attached people. And here's what that actually means. Studies show a real link between avoided attachment and cheating. But here's the catch. The effect is pretty small. It's more of a yellow flag than a red one. Think of it like this. Having an avoidant attachment style is kind of like driving in the rain. It doesn't mean you're going to crash, but the road is more slippery. And if you're not paying attention or haven't learned how to handle the conditions, the risk goes up. Now here's the part that really counts. And I want you to hear me, because this is where your focus should be. If someone has cheated in the past, then the chance of them doing it again goes up significantly. And that's a risk that applies to everyone across the board, not just avoidants. Unless they've done the deep inner work to change their core beliefs and rewire what drives their behavior, then statistically, they're more likely to do it again. You deserve to know that risk, because I do not want to see you get hurt. Now, let's move on to the third phase, the relief phase. They've deactivated, they've exited the relationship, and now they feel relief. Now, if you're a fearful avoidant, it feels as if the pressure is gone. The danger is past, and you can finally begin to relax. This is why they can seem so cold or indifferent right after the breakup. They're genuinely feeling good. At this point, they might even feel like they made the right decision. Now, if you've been feeling confused by your fearful avoidant, then this is the part that brings clarity. But it's also where it gets complicated. So let's break down the fearful avoidant regret timeline. But before we unlock this whole new level of understanding, I need to give you a quick heads up. It isn't as if this timeline is an exact science. Everyone moves at their own pace, and there's no magical switch that flips on a specific date. But there are certain windows where things are more likely to happen based on what we know from attachment research. So think of this as a general guideline. And if you're struggling with your breakup, then get my no contact survival kit from the link posted here. It will help you get through this. Now, to make this easy, we're going to break the timeline down into 4 stages. Stage 1, the relief bubble. This is roughly between week 1 and week 4, and this is the honeymoon phase of being single. In the first few weeks after a breakup, your fearful avoidant ex is likely in what we're going to call the relief bubble. Here they can finally feel free from that anxiety that the relationship brought up for them. They might seem to be doing great on social media, they're going out, they're focusing on themselves, they're dating other people. Here's the part you already know. This phase can be absolutely brutal for the person who was left behind, because your ex seems completely fine while you're falling apart. You might think, how can they move on so easily if they ever loved me? But here's the deeper truth behind it. What's really happening is they're not processing the loss yet. Don't forget, they're in survival mode, so their brain is protecting them from the pain by keeping them in this bubble of relief. And what that really means is that the regret hasn't hit because they're still in protection mode. Now here's what it looks like to you. They seem happy and carefree. They might be active on dating apps. They appear to have moved on very quickly. They might even seem relieved if you try to contact them, like they're doing better than ever before. But here's the truth underneath all that noise. What's actually happening inside their mind is this. Their attachment system is still deactivating. They're avoiding processing the loss. And that means deep down inside, their subconscious is running the show and protecting them from the pain. Then comes stage 2, the crash. And this is where the truth really starts to show itself. Reality sets in, and as a rule of thumb, this happens between week 4 and week 12. But remember, these dates aren't set in stone. Now this is where things get interesting. Somewhere between roughly that first and third month, the relief bubble pops. And the reason this is happening is because their nervous system can't stay in protection mode forever. Now, some people hold on longer, but eventually, for a fearful avoidant, the reality of the loss starts to seep in. What you actually need to know is this. The crash usually happens when specific situations force them to confront what they've actually given up. To put it simply, life makes it impossible to ignore what they've lost. Now here's what actually triggers the crash. Seeing you move on or date someone else. They check your social media, they see you smiling with someone new, or a mutual friend casually mentions that you're dating again, and suddenly the reality hits that they are replaceable. Or they start to feel your absence during moments that used to really matter. For example, their birthday arrives and there's no thoughtful text from you. They wake up Christmas morning and it feels empty without your laugh. Or they get a promotion at work and they realize they're just texting friends instead of the one person who actually understood their career. Now things like casual dating starts to feel empty for them. Hookups leave them feeling more lonely than before. And they discover that having freedom just means having no one who really knows you like they do. They begin to realize the grass isn't greener on the other side. And at some point, their other relationships, if they have one, start to feel shallow compared to what you had. Maybe new people don't get their sense of humor, don't remember how they like their coffee, or don't understand their family dynamics the way you did after months or years together. Or as time passes and things change, those negative emotions from the relationship start to fade away and nostalgia kicks in. They start to remember your inside jokes, how safe they felt in your arms, how you supported them through the difficult times, and more, the arguments and the tension that made them leave start to seem trivial and insignificant. What's really critical to understand here is that the regret they experience is complex. It's not just, I miss them. It's more like the realization that I had something real and I destroyed it. And while that's true, what it really means is this. They start to see the relationship through rose-colored glasses, remembering all the good times, while the reasons they left naturally start to seem less and less important. But here's the catch, and this is critical. Even when they're experiencing regret, they're still fearful avoidant. So they might not reach out, or if they do, they might send mixed signals. And the reason that happens is this: they want you back, but they're still terrified of intimacy. So here's what you might see from them. Breadcrumbs, subtle attempts to reconnect. They might like your social media post. Mutual friends might mention they've been asking about you. They could send a casual text or a message, or they might even show up at places they know you'll be. And then comes stage 3, the cycle of approaching and avoiding. This is around month 3 to 6, and what you'll notice is a push-pull dynamic. And what that means is this: if your fearful avoidant ex does reach out during this period, when they're feeling that sense of regret, then you're going to experience emotional whiplash. And what that means is this: they might come on strong, telling you they made a mistake, they want to work things out, but then, just as quickly, they might pull back again and disappear. This is that push-pull dynamic, and it may feel like they're playing games, but this is really their attachment system in action. They want to feel this connection, but getting close triggers their fears all over again. It's like they're stuck in a loop. They miss you, they reach out. They get scared, they pull back. They pull back and they miss you more, so they reach out again. Now, the types of regret they experience are this: nostalgic regret, missing good times and the connection. Comparative regret, realizing other relationships don't compare. Growth regret, recognizing their own patterns and wishing they'd handled things differently. Or fear-based regret, worrying they'll never find love again. And now what this means for you is this: if you're hoping to get your ex back, then this phase is both the most helpful and the most dangerous. And the reason I say that is this: you feel hopeful because they're clearly experiencing real regret and want you back. But it's dangerous because without real work on their attachment patterns, you're more likely than not to end up in the same cycle that led to the breakup in the first place. Now, let's move on to stage 4, resolution or repetition. This happens typically 6 months or more after the breakup. And this is the long-term outcome. Everything up until now was just the setup. This is the end game. A fearful avoidant ex will typically go in one of 3 directions. Path 1, genuine growth and change. Some fearful avoidants use the regret phase as a wake-up call. They might seek out real help, start working on their attachment patterns, or do some serious self-reflection. If they take this path, they might reach out with a genuine desire to repair the relationship. And they might do the work necessary to make it healthy. Or they might take path 2, acceptance and moving on. Some fearful avoidants eventually accept that the relationship is over and they focus on moving forward with their life. The key thing to understand here is that they might always carry some regret, but they've processed it and they've decided to move on. This doesn't mean they didn't love you, but it does mean they've accepted their limitations and are leaving the past behind them. Now last, we have path 3. The cycle repeats. And this is where everything falls apart. Unfortunately, many fearful avoidants get stuck in the regret cycle. And what that means is this: they might reach out periodically, especially during difficult times, but they haven't done the deep work necessary to change their patterns. And what that ultimately means is this: it can lead to a pattern where they come back, you reconnect, things feel amazing for a few weeks or even months, then their fear of intimacy kicks in again, and they pull away or end things once more. Now, this is the part your heart needs to hear. Understanding this timeline can be both helpful and painful. On one hand, it might give you closure to know that your ex likely did experience regret and that their initial coldness was not a reflection of how much they cared about you. But on the other hand, knowing they regret the breakup doesn't necessarily mean getting back together is possible or even a good idea. So let me show you how this all fits together. If your fearful avoidant ex reaches out, here are the steps you need to take. First, don't ignore your own healing journey. Second, look for evidence of genuine change, not just regret. Third, really consider whether you're willing to rebuild trust. And fourth, remember that getting back together would require work from both of you. Now, here's what you actually need to know if they don't reach out. First of all, their silence doesn't mean they don't care or don't regret the breakup. Second, most likely, part of them is still protecting them from further hurt by staying away. Third, the most important thing is still to focus on your own healing and growth. And fourth, do not wait for closure from them. You can create your own closure. Now, the fearful avoidant regret timeline is complex because fearful avoidants themselves are complex. They can genuinely love you and still not be able to sustain the relationship. They can regret losing you and still not be able to do the work to win you back. And if you need help doing the work yourself, grab my No Contact Survival Kit, because understanding their timeline isn't about figuring out how to get them back. It's about understanding what happened so you can heal and make better choices moving forward. Now, whether that's with them or someone else, you deserve a relationship where love feels safe and reliable. Now, stay with me for this next video because we're going to dive even deeper into attachment styles.